Jonas, I guess you get a little alone time with Mitch Marner. How did this work out? You sat down with Mitch, and I was reading the article, and he's not going to give you any answers on his future or what. But did you pick up anything that would give you a read one way or the other about where his head is at in terms of being a Maple Leaf, and how much the playoff performance by himself individually and the team, for that matter, could factor into what happens in the future?
Well, so the hardest thing sometimes in covering the Leafs is with their big players, they're so requested that the only time you can really talk to them for the most part is like in big scrums. And like you can't really have conversations like that. Like imagine like I just shouted questions to you about like your future. You're like, what are you going to do? And like it's not really
no
a way
back and forth. There's other people that have obligations too.
Exactly. And so this was like an actual rare chance to kind of actually compose questions that I have about the whole situation. And I'll just say, like, I left the conversation less sure that he wants to stay than before. Now, that's just like reading between the lines. Only he knows exactly what he's thinking. Mm-hmm. And obviously the playoffs, I think, will have a lot to do with everything. But I probably went into that 50-50 as to whether he stays or goes. And I left it a little more on the he might leave.
Really? So
and that's just reading between the lines. Like I gave him chances to explain why things are the way they are and why things have played out, and when like you just hear him keep repeating like I'm just here to play hockey, like
but that
again, like he may have just decided this season I am not talking about it, I'm not thinking about it. Fair enough. Maybe that's all it is. But you could also say, like, I want to be a Leaf the rest of my career. And he has said that at certain points. But then we also have the stuff at the trade deadline, which I don't know how he feels about that. I don't know how I would feel about that. Like, if I was him, that would probably piss me off. Like, I would not be happy about that. He's never said that.
You're alluding to the Mikko Rantanen stuff and asking to waive to go to Carolina.
Yeah, it's like that would not make me happy. That would make me question some things. And, like, I do feel like, and he referenced this in our chat, that the way he's been covered here or the way he's criticized here, whether it's fair or not, whether like his perception of it, my thinking on his perception of it is fair, it does feel like the negativity is a thing with him and affects him differently than it does all the other guys. And so I wonder, I just come away from it thinking like maybe he just doesn't want to deal with all of that, whether you think it's real or not.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just over it. And
that would be my assumption. If he were to walk, it's not because he's getting more money somewhere else. I've never believed it's that I got to get the highest cap hit, and I think there's internal battles and egos about him compared to Willie, him compared to Austin, all that kind of stuff that can shake out, and he can live with himself and he can move on, and he understands how much money he makes away from the rink, being a Maple Leaf, and what comes with that in terms of endorsements and lifetime endorsements and, everything that comes with being a lifelong Leaf that owns the record books and all that kind of stuff, especially if you continue to take kicks at the can at trying to win.
Yeah.
And if they were to win, what that would do in terms of exploding your marketplace and your reputation within the market. But I did pick up on that, the one quote in particular, and this has been very consistent with Marner, is he will say something like he said to you, you'll notice something along the lines of it's more negative than positive, the coverage. And then he tried to follow it up with, that's why we don't care. It's like, you do care. You clearly do care. And it clearly wears on him more. That's my read on it from afar. And I can understand why, because he's a local guy. Like he doesn't escape. Like Austin goes to Arizona. Basically, the second he can leave, my understanding is he's out of here. Willie, the same thing. Willie might stick around for a couple of weeks, play golf, go for dinner with a few people. Then he goes to Sweden, and he's gone. Mitch goes to Muskoka. That's not gone. That's not out of here. Like that's still around.
Well, and his buddies and everyone is all from here. Right?
Exactly. It's a different experience for him.
That's the biggest thing is we forget sometimes, and again, on a much, much smaller scale, way before social media and stuff, like I do remember playing in the Canadian market compared to, St. Louis or Minnesota, stuff like that, where great hockey markets, but not a Canadian market. And to me, that was one of the things where I can't imagine now with social media, with everything that's instantaneous. It's not just Mitch that lives it. It's everybody connected to him. It's his family. It's his friends, all of that. And they're only human too. And that's the biggest thing is you get a buddy, or I remember one time my mom was like rattled because some guy on the radio said I had bad 5-hole or something. I'm like, yeah, I pretty much do. I was joking, but like, that, like it affects not like for me, yeah, fine, have thick skin, but like my mom or by extension my brother or cousins and all, they have to live it too. And I would imagine that's probably what he's alluding to. It's the whole package that comes with it. But hey, you know what? You got to live with that. That's part of being a pro athlete in any world today.
Absolutely. It's the nature of the beast, but you're right. We're living in a very different world where that was a time too. Your mom had to be listening live probably to hear that.
Right.
That's another thing in terms of the world we live in, and we're a party to this. Like, I may come on here and say something about Mitch. It doesn't just die after we've said it. It's on podcast, YouTube, tsn.ca.
Well, and
you
it's
go find, and Marner might go find it
too. Yeah, like you don't know the context of it, but we live in a world of 50.
Because you can go back and find it yourself. Is the point?
Right. But what I'm saying, Brian, is we live in the world of 15-second clips. You could say, I love Mitch. You could have 100 good things to talk about Mitch. And then you say, but you know what? That's the one that's clipped. And that's the one that he sees. That's the point.
True too. Yeah, that is valid too. But it's out there and you can find it. That's why newspapers used to be the only thing. You read it and it's there. I have it physically in front of me. This is what you wrote.
Yeah.
Now it's a different world.